Hello, this is Aja with MaidCentral, and this is going to be a quick video on how to use the internal quoting tool. In our MaidCentral test environment, we actually have two different ways that we can enter a new customer. One where the initial clean is included on the scope of work, and another one where the initial clean is a separate scope of work. I'm going to use the one where it is a separate scope of work because that tends to be the option most people choose. So here I'm going to go ahead and add a customer here. And then you would add their contact information here as well. In our test environment, that's not quite as important, so I'm just going to delete those out. You can do this the same way in your systems if they only have an email address or only have a phone number for their contact info, because if there is a box here that is blank, these are required to be filled before you can move to the next phase or be deleted. The next step is to add in your service address here, and now you can have whatever other questions you'd like to have here on the before questioning section. If you have any of those, you'll need to fill those out. So next we're going to go into pricing. From here, depending on what questions you have, you'll fill in whatever ones are required. If you have custom questions here, this might look slightly different on your page, but the options are still the same as far as you need to fill in the ones that have asterisks, and you can ignore the ones that don't have them. So I'm going to ignore the notes section here and fill out all the ones with my asterisks. Now at the bottom of the page, I can see the base pricing for these customers. For this customer, this is not necessarily the final pricing depending on how you use your system. If you have any sort of required rate modifications like credit card fees or travel fees or anything like that, those will not show up until you actually click on the job, show you what those additional fees and what the total is at the bottom here. These prices at the bottom here over on this side only show your base fees. So now you've got some additional options as well if you want to add anything. So if this person wants to add their fridge clean and the oven clean for their first time clean, they can. Again, the total price will show up here, but does not show up over here. So I'm going to leave it at this, with our refrigerator and oven on the initial clean and just a regular full home cleaning every 2 weeks. Now, if they're not ready to book at this point, you can click your save and send in the bottom. If they haven't decided between what frequency they want, you can select multiple frequencies on this quote and send them all in a single quote. This will then update your fee table to look like this, where we have the top to bottom clean with our add-ons, and then our optional recurring services, whether it's the every week, every 2 weeks, and every 4 weeks. Further down the page, you can have whatever buttons you want here. Our test environment both has the option to book online or to book through an email. So that is all set there. Oh, I don't have an email in this one, so I'm not going to be able to send it. An email is required to send that one. So for this one, it did just save it. Now, if they're ready to book, you can hit continue and move on to the next step. So our next step is actually filling in the work order information, getting access, credit card, all of that information set up. Actually making sure that you add the credit card, you can add it at this step. And this again is a test environment, so we do have fake credit cards that we can add in here, which is wonderful. So you'll fill in this information as needed, and then you can go to your scheduling step. Scheduling page is going to bring up your availability calendar. You'll also notice that it shows what location, what home zone your quoted customer is in, so you can have your master schedule open at the same time to make sure that there's an opening that you're looking for. So I would typically start with this actually. So the initial clean is almost 11 hours. So I'm going to find a day that has about 11 hours or more. this Friday on the 28th kind of looks perfect. Or if they want to go earlier, I'm going to go ahead and do the 17th. So we're going to change this to 4/17. Time, I'm going to move this to noon, since I do prefer to do initial cleans in the afternoon. And I'm going to leave the team as not scheduled, since I know that there's availability on that day, but I don't know what team it's on. So for now, I'm not going to worry about selecting a team. You do want to make sure that this is selected as first time in, just so it gets tagged correctly. My name has the word deep clean in it, so that means it automatically already selects the deep clean tag. You can leave that on there or unselect it. And then for the recurring service, if they're getting cleaned on the 17th, I'm going to try and find a rotation on Mondays if I can, but preferably on this week of May 1st. So on the master schedule, I'm actually going to switch and look for something opening on week 3, just so they don't have to wait as long. So it looks like we have a good spot here on team 3 at around noon. So that is what I'm going to do on the quote. We're going to say this is Tuesday the 2nd, around noon. Oops. My scroll wheel is very sensitive. And this is on team 3. And then this one is not the first time in anymore. The first time in is happening on the 17th, so I'm going to uncheck it here so that it isn't tagged as an initial clean for the technician. And now the last step is just to save quote and book. This will then pull up our confirmation email. Again, I don't have an email address in here for this customer, so I'm not going to be able to send it, but this is where you'll have a final summary of the services selected, and then they'll be able to be sent to the terms of service agreement to agree to it there. And then we'll go ahead and just view customer because we can't send it. If at that point you don't send the agreement still gets created. So you can still resend it here if you get contact information later, or if you want to manually agree to it for them, you can do that at this step as well. So here I can go ahead and agree for them. And back on the customer, just to double check, we've got our initial clean on the 17th. It includes our rate modifications for the oven and the fridge that we had selected. And then finally, on the 2nd is the first recurring clean for the full home, starting at 12 p.m. For 4.44 hours on team 3. I hope that helps, and that is how you would do the complete process of quoting a new customer internally.